The number one thing that I learned in starting my first business into starting this business is that relationships matter more than you would ever think, and how we treat other people, really getting to understand people and what makes them click. Like, this business is not just about dollars and cents. It's a vehicle for us to do the things that we want to do and help other people grow, as well as, ourselves. So really understanding those people and what makes them tick and where they want to go and being a part of that. I got a guy that wants to start a football club for his community. Like, I'm going to help him. I'll help him build the website, put that all together, roll that stuff out. Like, that means more to people than anything when we can get involved in their personal life. So I think number one is the relationships. The second part is just fucking do it.
How can you help us, though, continue to help you? First, please subscribe to the channel. Like us. If you listen to the audio version, leave us a 5-star review wherever you can. If you see our posts, please share those posts, share the content, and link back to our law firm website, which helps us to continue our SEO marketing and grow our firm and help small business owners. All right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the show. I'm Mitch Bynack, your host. Welcome to The Accidental Entrepreneur. If I always remind people, if you're listening on your favorite directory and you can leave us a review, leave us a 5-star review so we can keep growing the show, keep connecting with cool people like Randy, who you'll meet in a moment. And if you're watching us on YouTube as we continue to do more and more and more video, less and less audio, go to the channel, subscribe, like it, share it, and keep supporting us. I always remind everyone that the information that we share and discuss in these episodes is for entertainment purposes only. It's not to be construed as advice or a guarantee of any kind. And if you should hear something, whether it's on this episode or another, and you want to make some decisions based on what you hear, make sure you check with local licensed professionals before doing so. So, live from Chicago, or the suburbs of Chicago, perhaps. Randy, thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate
Mitch,
it.
thanks for having me, man. I'm really excited to be here today.
Yeah, so why don't we start with your background, because we're going to talk a lot today about logistics and technology and all the stuff that's going on in your world and the company you've built, but maybe we can start with some other things you did, prior to that, going back.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I wouldn't say I grew up poor, but we were a pretty modest family. We didn't have a ton of money growing up, and honestly, my parents were divorced, things like that. I had some struggles at home, and I as a child, like I struggled in school. If I go all the way back to the beginning, and I think, looking back now at school, I wasn't a great student. I got expelled twice, and I think that was because it was like, when I was in school, I wasn't actually applying the things that I was there to learn, so I didn't really care about it at the time, and I learned that later. But as I kind of got older, the motivation behind what I was doing in life really became around money. I didn't have a college education. I needed to figure out how to make money, and
you got to pay your bills. That's what makes the world go around.
That's
what it is.
I got into retail at the beginning, and I was always looking for a better opportunity. I remember being in retail. These people would come in, they'd buy these $30,000-$40,000 home theater systems that I'd sell them. I'd always ask them, like, "What do you do? What do you do?"
Yeah.
Always looking for something, and
so that was what it was. It was hi-fi sales, like high-end stuff.
Yeah, Magnolia Home Theater, it was called, actually.
There you go.
High-end equipment, stuff like that. So, I was just looking for that, and I was constantly looking for that, and so I ended up getting into multi-level marketing, because the idea behind it was have this dream of building this huge business,
right?
And $500,000 or $1 million a year,
and that stuff always seems appealing, but it's usually a few guys at the top that make all the money.
Yeah. At the time, it was insurance, mortgage, and investments. Did pretty good with it. I was making $70,000. Run a small team of 10 people, and I was early 20s. And then when 2008 happened, that crash, that led me to logistics. I had a buddy in logistics. He's like, "Hey, you're good in sales. You should come do this." So I got into freight. So that's how this all started. And then
that's brokering, right? You're brokering freight. You're the middle guy, moving the freight from wherever it's coming from to the ultimate destination, right?
Exactly. Simplest thing is, companies need to move it from point A to point B. They call us. We find them trucks to move it.
Right.
So that's how I got started into logistics. And then when you start to think about, the accidental entrepreneur, I'm like, oh, this is perfect, because I was doing sales. I never had this dream of being an entrepreneur. But the company that I was with, they were cutting back. The business was scaling. I was making a ton of money as a salesperson. They wanted to scale that back a little bit.
Yeah, they weren't happy. That always happens, right? The guys that are driving the business, the owners are like, "Why is this guy making all the money? Let's cut him back." And then you're like, "Well, if you're going to cut me back, I'm going to go do this on my own." Like, well, this is stupid.
Yeah. So long story short, that happened, and I got to a spot where I was like, I either need to, I had this, I had a non-compete, non-solicit. So I'm like, I either got to go start in a completely new industry, or I got to take a little risk and go and give this thing a shot. And I'm like, screw it. I'm gonna if I'm gonna lose everything to start all over again, I might as well just go for it. And I started my first company in 2014. It was a franchise.
They didn't go after you, your old employer?
What's that?
Your old employer didn't go after you?
Oh, sure did.
Oh.
Yeah, I started on Friday. I was getting sued by Wednesday.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Just because there was a weekend in there. If not, it would have been sooner.
Yeah, and we'd I was trying to do everything legit. Like, I wasn't trying to be malicious or any of that kind of
Right.
stuff. Yeah, we had to deal with litigation. It took us about 16 months to litigate that, and I ended up.
Randy, your non-compete applied even if they laid you off, meaning
They laid me off.
involuntarily terminated?
Commissions.
They did. Oh, they just reduced the commissions, which forced you to quit.
Change the pay structure.
I got it.
It was,
Okay,
it was like, I think at the time it was like a $60,000 pay cut to me. And it was gonna.
yeah, you're like, this is ridiculous. I can't pay my bills, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's how I got into business, man. That was my first company.
And that was all freight brokering when you started the first company, right? You were just brokering freight back and forth, and
That's it.
You knew the business. Yeah. No, I know a lot of guys that have gotten into that business, but it's become very, what's the word? Like, there's a lot of things in your business. I mean, people are now moving stuff all over the world. Nobody buys product like in their town, or very often even in their state, for whatever it is that they're buying. Just not even in the country.
Yeah.
And them getting it here is still a challenge. And I noticed, and you can comment on this as we go through the episode, it's a very bifurcated industry. Like, there's nothing, right? It's not like you go to a website and you line up the truck and it's all organized. These truckers are all over the place. And I met a guy that had something called Fleet. I think it was fleet.com or something. Anyway,
Sure.
It was a website that you know the website?
I'm not familiar with it, no.
It's this guy. He's maybe African American. He came from another country. Anyway, he set up a website to bring the trucks together with the people that need to ship their stuff. And sometimes it's internal. You're shipping from your headquarters, your warehouse to your retail locations or whatever. But there's a lot of small companies, right, that don't have their own trucks. So that's what he started doing. But I've noticed that. Is that true that the industry is still kind of all over the place?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the majority of trucking companies out there are less than 100 trucks,
Yeah, so they're small.
So many owner-operators out there, guys that just own their truck and they're running. And
can you buy a truck? Could I buy a trailer? Not a trailer, a truck, and get my CDL and start picking up jobs? Is that easy?
That's it.
That's it, huh?
I mean, it's
on the road,
thing, right? When you don't have any history, you don't have any credit.
Yeah, you got to get the jobs. I understand that, but getting the truck, if you could line up the money, get a loan, get a CDL, you're good to go. Then you just got to fight for business.
That's it.
All right. Well, that's how this guy started, the Fleet.com guy. He wanted to see the country. He wasn't good in school either. He dropped out of high school, or he finished high school maybe, didn't go to college, and he got this truck with the help of his uncle or something, and then was able to see the whole country because he was picking up loads everywhere.
Yeah. I always say that my retirement plan is that I'm going to get a truck and I'm going to outfit part of it as like an RV, and the rest of it I'm just going to pull random loads all over the country and just go travel around.
Yeah, it'll just pay for your cost of living, and then you can. And now I've never been in one of those. Are they big enough to, like, it's not like an RV where you have like a bathroom and stuff. You got to go to truck stops, right?
Yeah, some of them do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's guys that have outfitted full 53-foot trailers into RVs and half
is for loads.
Space, and not 26 pallets, but maybe 12.
Yeah, and if you know the business, you can make money, right? Just be on the road and.
Yeah, or if you own a company and you can, grab loads off your own load board.
Yeah, exactly.
Where you want to go on a regular basis.
Keep making money.
That's it.
It's on the road. That's not a bad. Yeah, that's not a bad plan and not a bad life. Are you married?
I am. Yeah.
Would your wife do that? Would she go on the road with you?
Oh, of course. Yeah, we're definitely doing that. We're out of here. We're not sure where we're going to land, man. I was born in Chicago, raised in Chicago. I work remotely. The only reason we're here is because we have kids and they're tied in the community.
Right. And once they're older and they're out of high school, maybe in college or whatever they're doing, you can hit it. It's harder for me because as a lawyer, like, I really can only practice in New York and New Jersey, right? So I can do business with you if I'm in Georgia, but it's hard. Mm-hmm. It's different than like a patent attorney. Those guys can do business anywhere in the country. There's a patent bar. But I know somebody who did that. They moved somewhere else and they still have a lot of clients wherever they have the clients. Doesn't matter. But for me, business owners still kind of want to see me. States and trusts I got to do in person, so it's much harder. My wife and I would love to do that, like hit the road. And you also don't know where your kid's going to end up, right? I have one in Texas now. He actually works in warehouse management systems. He programs these systems, so I'm pretty familiar with all the shit that goes on and getting this stuff in and out of a warehouse and where it is and so forth. And my other daughter wants to go to dental school. I don't know where she'll end up, and the little one's in college in Arizona. So they're all over the country. So, yeah, what do you have? A couple of kids?
Yeah, I got a 15-year-old daughter and a 12-year-old son.
Yeah, so, right, and they're all on adulthood already, right? They think they know everything. So you don't know where they're going to end up, right?
I have no clue, but I'm out in 6 years, man. That's the plan.
There you go. Right, exactly. That'll put the little one at 18, right?
That's it. Yeah. I might keep a downsize to a small townhouse or something here.
Yeah,
in case come back. And I'm traveling the country.
Right, nice. All right, so we're getting off topic because we could go on for this forever. So let's talk about, like, when you did your first freight brokering business, right? You knew the sales side of the business, right? You knew how to find the jobs, but you didn't know anything about business. So how did you start setting up the company and learning that stuff?
Yeah, you know what? The franchise was the springboard for me, and that's the reason why I decided on the franchise at the beginning.
Yeah, it's like a business box. Yeah,
I didn't know what a P&L was. I didn't know how to set up an LLC or what to set up even.
Right.
So, I was just looking for the opportunity, and at the time there was this agent model where you could work with companies as an agent, you could make a percentage, but the franchise model was really enticing because there was a higher percentage split to us, and we took on a little bit more risk, but we got to monetize that if we really wanted to, right? We own the business.
Right. And the startup wasn't too bad, right? It wasn't like you had to buy a fleet of trucks. You're just brokering these things, right?
Yeah, we still had to pay, I think it was like, I'm not sure. It was just under 50 grand, I think, when
up front.
We bought in up front.
Yeah.
And then,
annual royalties.
The salespeople we spent to start the business and litigate. Yeah. But yeah, the franchise helped me springboard into that, right? So they were like, hey, in order for you to become a franchisee, you have to have this LLC set up. You have to be incorporated. You have to have certain things in place. You have to have a location. And so we had to meet these requirements, and they kind of assisted us and held our hand through that stuff, which was, honestly the best decision ever.
Right. Yeah, it works for a lot of people, especially if it's a good company. So in those days, you had to have an office. It wasn't like you could do virtual like you do now.
That's right. Yeah. And we did have to have an office. So we put all that together, and through the litigation and through starting the business and all that stuff. I mean, if you know litigation, obviously, it's time consuming,
Yeah.
And take all your
time. It's draining. It's physically and mentally draining. It takes you away from trying to be successful in your own business.
Yeah, all we were doing was working to pay attorneys.
Yeah.
Almost every
How did the franchisor feel? They knew you had a non-compete, and they were on board supporting you?
Our agreements were our agreements with the company, and we had to advise the franchisor of everything that we had with them, and we were responsible for that stuff.
But they knew about it going in, so they knew that your attention could be drawn away sometimes as you deal with fires and negotiating with these guys. Okay, but that's hard. That's a lot to balance, right? You're balancing the starting of the business, even though you knew what you were doing, and dealing with all the setup and everything with the franchise, and then you're dealing with this bullshit on the other side with these guys want to put you out of business.
Yeah.
It wasn't like you were going to put them out of business. I mean, that's stupid.
I had no intention to hurt them at all or do anything.
Right.
I wanted to start a new company.
Yeah, you just wanted your life.
That's it.
Pay your bills, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how long did that go on, the lawsuit?
16 months.
16 months?
Yeah.
Or 60 months?
16.
Okay, 16. So like a year and a half, a little short of a year and a half.
Yeah, we, so it was a wild story in itself. Like we got to we got all the way through, we were 2 weeks out from trial, and our law firm actually parted ways with our lawyer. So I had 2 weeks before the trial to get another attorney set up. So I found another one that was like $130,000 retainer at the time, and I think it had like 160 grand in the bank.
Oh, that's a big retainer, though. Holy shit!
Oh man, but by that time we were already almost we were spending $50,000 a month in litigation.
Oh my god! So you're basically working to just pay your legal bills.
That's it, man. That's it. But thank God we could.
Yeah.
Thank God we could.
Yeah.
So, anyways, long story short, I'm like, I'm about to write this $128,000 check or whatever it was. I'm like, I'll call the other company and I'll see if I can negotiate this and just write it to them.
Yeah.
And I talked to the old owner of the other company, and I negotiated a deal with them, and I settled it outside of court.
Right. Well, you know what? You hung in there to the point where he's got a lot of pressure and a lot of pain, and he's getting close to trial, and he knows it's going to cost him a shitload in trial, even if he wins. And then if he wins, his collecting is always an issue. So he probably was good timing in terms of getting him to say, you know what, fine, fuck it, whatever, we'll get the money and leave you
That's
alone.
it.
Yeah. So then you hit the ground running from there.
Yeah, I mean, we built that franchise up, and that was 2014 when we started that. 2016, the franchisor that we were working with had a big private equity investment come in, and they wanted to consolidate the franchises, so they bought us out in 2016. So we were maybe almost 3 years from start to exit.
Okay. Well, that worked.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes things in your life just line up, right? If you have faith and a good outlook, and it did for us, so it was a good.
And I assume there was no non-compete, like you could, if they were buying you out, right? You just don't want to work for a living.
I stayed on with them for 3 years.
Okay.
To earn out agreement.
Running the location or whatever?
Yeah, I ran a bunch of different locations at about 150 people or 150 people and employees and $150 million in freight spend. And then 2020 happened. My earnout was up. COVID happened. We laid off a bunch of people, and I was one of them.
Right.
And so
but once COVID got going, wasn't the freight, the movement of goods, well, I guess a lot of the ports, things got jammed up, right? There were boats waiting, and it was a mess.
Oh, it was an absolute mess. We expected this huge downturn in the freight market, and it was the complete opposite. It was like shut the ports down, and once they opened them up, everything exploded.
Yeah, because it was all waiting there. Everybody was ordering.
I mean, and I obviously I was gone already, but they were bringing people back afterwards. They were like, "Oh, wait a second, hold on, we need you."
Right.
And so in the meantime, I caught the back end of that kind of what COVID boom in our freight industry. So I had that for like for pretty much 2022. And then what happened from there was then you had all these inventory levels. The inventory wasn't moving, and then it just collapsed.
Yeah.
The cost of the trucks was twice as much as what it was before.
Was it?
All these trucking companies that were getting into the industry because there was so much money to be made. They were paying two times the normal amount for a truck, and then all of a sudden it's like rates drop out.
Yeah, because the competition was so high, right? It was just, they just exploded. Eventually the bubble burst, right?
That's right. It's exactly what happened. And so that was the same thing for us, man. Like I was an operator by myself. I was doing, I don't know, maybe $50,000 a month in profit just by myself as an individual operator. And I'm like, hey, I need to get some employees. We got so much business going on. So I went out and hired my first 2 employees, and then the bubble popped. So we lost 60% of our overall revenue in 60 days.
Oh, man. Just because they weren't doing business, right? They had nothing.
We didn't lose any customers. We just didn't have as much volume.
Yeah, exactly.
So now I'm like, what am I going to do, man? I got 2 new employees I just hired. Like I just outlaid a ton of money on people that knew what they were doing because I didn't have resources to train people. I needed people that knew the business. And so then I had to make a decision. I'm like, do I go back? I let these people go, and I'm go back to be an operator. And these are friends. These are people that worked for me at previous companies.
So this was after, though, the franchisor bought you out. The private equity group bought you out. You're now on your own.
Lumi Logistics, the company I own today.
Got it. Okay. So it obviously survived since you still own it today.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. I started this forum when I first started the business. I was a part of Entrepreneurs Organization.
EO. Yep.
Yeah. So you'd sit down with 10 other business owners and talk about your problems and help each other and that sort of thing. So I started this forum on Facebook because I didn't qualify for an EO. I was too small.
Yeah, you have to do what, $1 million? You have to be doing $1 million in profit or something. There's some
$1 million in revenue, maybe 2 now.
In revenue. Okay. Yeah.
And so I'm like, I reached out on this Facebook marketplace, or not marketplace, but this broker thing, and I'm like, hey, I'm looking for other freight brokerage owners. I'm trying to put together this forum. I'll facilitate it. I know how to do it. I just want some people I could bounce some ideas off of. And I had like 300 people sign up.
300?
300.
Well, they're out there.
In 2 weeks. I was like, oh my God, I had no idea there was such a need for this. I started 5 different forums, and I ran each one one a week. And then when that bubble popped, I got introduced to a woman. She was looking to start a freight brokerage. And she was looking for somebody to run it for her, and I was like, "Listen,
right,
kind of good timing for me right now. I'll start this for you. I'll launch it for you. We'll do a 6-month
like
contract.
A consultant. You could do like consulting.
Correct. And so she brought me on. So I was running my company at the same time I was launching hers. 2 different teams, 2 different same meetings, 30 minutes back to back. And that got us through the 6-month time frame until we could kind of stabilize the business and get the levels back up, and then I could transition back over. So it was, wild times, man.
Now, the groups that you started on Facebook, there were 5 groups. Did they have different topics? Did you just say, okay, well, we can only take a certain amount of people in each group?
Yeah, so I narrowed it down. I had a certain criteria for what it was to qualify to be a part of it. You had to own the business. You had to have an active core carrier number. You had to be an active broker already. And then I just took, all those folks and then separated them into 5 groups. And then it was the same thing. Mm-hmm. We would cover, goals, objectives, keep holding each other accountable, challenges that we were facing, things we were doing to grow.
Yeah, like mastermind groups, kind of, right?
That's it, man. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you learn. Look, I think a lot of people overlook the value of learning from your basically competitors, right? I mean, they weren't down the street from you, but they're in your industry. Yeah. And when people share, so what kind of things did you learn from that? Were there ideas that came out of that? Were there operational things you learned? You're like, oh shit, I never thought of that. Like, what? Do you remember some of that stuff?
Actually, the reason I stopped doing the forums because I felt like I was just doing free coaching.
Right. That's what happens, right?
Yeah. I mean, I had there was the majority weren't as far along as I was. A lot of them were startups. I had a couple people that were further along and became good friends.
So that's why they joined, right? Because they're just getting started and they want some advice, right?
That's it. And so that's I'm like, hey, I'm spending so much time coaching, and so I started charging for coaching, and I started taking on some coaching clients through that to supplement some income and stuff like that too. But I mean, the one thing I learned is like there was a ton of people that wanted to do this, and they just couldn't get over that hump of starting. I've talked to so many people. They'd be like, I'm going to get this thing going tomorrow. I'm so inspired by what you're doing. This means so much to me. Like, I want to get this MC. I'm going to do this. And like, all right, let's go. Let's get this thing done. And then next week they show up and they'd be like, I didn't get the MC yet, but I'm going to get it this week. I didn't get this.
So it wasn't an issue of money or expertise. It was more of an issue of like sticking to it.
Jumping in, man. Like,
yeah.
Jump in, both feet. Like you can't be great at something that you don't go fully, full speed on.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So.
All right. That's interesting. So, all right. So where are you now? Like, did you narrow the business down at some point and say, well, this is making me crazy? Because it sounds making me crazy just listening to the story. You're like working 40 hours, 80 hours, 90 hours a week, 120 hours a week. You're running, like, right?
Yeah.
But you wanted to get off the ground. I mean, if you never soar, if you don't like run fast, if you just go at an even pace, right? So you were going fast. So at what point did you say, well, I got to kind of trim this down? And then you brought in a technology component to the business, right?
Yeah. All that stuff was supplemental income and strategy to help me launch.
Right.
Your
brokerage, your freight broker business.
And then when I got to a stable place where I was like, okay, now I got to get the rest of this noise out of my head, and I got to really narrow down on this business. Then
no more coaching, no more consulting. You just got to.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
So then I narrowed in, and I had a couple of those first 2 employees that we hired. And we've been growing organically. We've doubled our business every single year for the last 5 years.
Great. Okay.
And I think we'll triple this year.
Wow. That's what Focus does for you.
Yeah. I mean, it's gone really good. And I still put in a ton of hours, don't get me wrong, but it's really focused on the business. And I think, one of the things I did at the beginning that I think is really important, and, first you got to move from that operator phase to, leadership phase, right? Obviously.
You can't be the sales guy and the janitor and all the things. That's the biggest death knell for a business.
That's right. And I think a lot of people think like, well, I'm going to go hire support and I'm going to build this, maybe young, inexperienced support team around me, and I'm going to be the guy that runs it and I'll delegate all this stuff. But then what ends up happening is like you get so stuck in the weeds and trying to direct people on what to actually do, like you just get stuck. And I didn't want that to happen. When I first started my first few employees, I saved my money and I was like, hey, I'm going to hire somebody that's really good, that knows what to do, that knows how to build this department or this business function.
Yeah.
I'm going to just delegate all of it to them. And then
so they don't need your supervision and
that's it.
And teaching and all that kind of stuff.
That's right.
Okay.
And so I did that at the beginning. All the employees that I hired were experienced, been doing this for years, and I think that's really helped us. We got a really good leadership team, and now we're kind of building in those younger support positions now that we're getting a little bit bigger.
Yeah, and then they train them, not you.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, if you're growing at that kind of speed, you can't be the guy always. I mean, the whole system breaks down. It's a different level, right? If you've doubled for the last 3, 4, 5 years,
your organization is a totally different structure than it was when you first started. It's not like, you come in, look at the board, and get jobs done.
Yeah.
There's got to be a lot of things happening behind the scenes before you even get to the office,
Yeah, I mean, now like my entire strategy is focused on strategy for the business, not focused on any shipment execution.
Right.
It's focused on massive opportunities that we have in the pipeline. It's technology, changes and advancements, implementing some of those strategies, back office support, efficiencies, all that kind of stuff now.
Yeah, because you're at the level that you're at. So when in the earlier days, or the last 5 years, you said you've doubled every year, right? Obviously, that's not because you're selling more. So how did you? I mean, it could happen the first year. You could double your business yourself. How did you keep growing like that? Like, what was the strategy and implementation?
So what I did was, I've always been the guy. So I would reach out to somebody for a sales position. So our sales team would reach out. They would go do the cold calling, qualify the opportunities. They would bring those opportunities to the table, and then I would look at the pipeline and say, okay, here's our top 5 opportunities in the pipeline. I'm going to go get involved in these. I'm going to go close these, and pull these through. That's kind of how we've always done it.
Okay.
So any of those big opportunities, and I still do that today.
Okay.
Some of the largest opportunities, I'm very involved in. I delegate pieces of the project, but I oversee the whole thing.
Right, but so did the opportunities get larger? Is that how you've grown your business?
Yeah, we at the beginning it was like small shipper, super transactional business. Hey, I got a truckload I need to move. We do it once a month. Can you do this for me? Sometimes maybe, hey, we have a couple a week. We want you to move maybe 1 out of the 10 loads that we move, that sort of thing. That was to now we're working with companies that are doing anywhere between $2 million to $50 million in freight spend, and our strategy is much more thorough. It's not super transactional. We're collecting 90 days of invoices. We're running analytics on that. We're understanding the
A lot of customer service.
Yeah. And then we build a whole solution around that, technology, people, contracts, vendors, everything.
So you're really building and managing their logistics system.
Yeah.
Right? The purchasing, the delivery, the warehousing, where it is, what you got.
Yep.
To build
I just got off a call this morning. I mean, so you're looking at about $7.5 million in overall freight spend, multiple locations, no transportation management system, no key performance indicators. There's no on-time performance. There's no benchmark, cost mark benchmarking, or any of that kind of stuff. We're able to save them 30%. There's 30% of savings.
There's waste because they're not managing it properly.
Spend.
Yeah, it's all just waste because they're not managing it properly.
It's unbelievable, and that's real money.
No,
that goes right to the bottom line. So we build this solution, and we're able to give them the KPIs, give them the technology, give them the resources, give them the people, and do it for less money that they're already spending today.
Yeah, no, I understand. I mean, I told you that my son works he's a programmer, but
yeah.
It's amazing the way they set these systems up, and there's just things going on that make absolutely no sense and just wasting money. He manages their yard system where, the trucks are coming in and they're going out, and the system can literally say, like, this bay is full, but there's nothing there because somebody was too lazy to, like, fix it. So then... Yeah, and then they automate it, and they put it in a position where it's not going to, you have to do it or whatever it is. I don't know how he does it, but yeah, I think it's amazing how, I don't know, maybe it's just the timing of everything. Like, we're becoming very automated now with AI and all these tools. 20 years ago, things were still analog, right? They were managed by a person who writes it in a check, a clipboard and puts it. So it was a lot of that, and I think we're in a stage where in 20 years, right, the newer companies that's just going to be like the standard, right? You're going to be the standard. People are going to say, well, go to Randy. He'll automate your whole system, and they know what they're doing and so forth. And I think people, some of it you just kind of grow into the size of your company. It's all happening at the same time, yeah.
Yeah, I think those transitions are definitely happening finally. I think it's taken a while. I can't tell you. At the beginning, we were faxing load tenders,
Yeah.
faxing them.
Right, but then that's not data that any system can use.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't even have a fax in my office anymore. The only person I have trouble dealing with is the IRS.
I'm surprised it's even on the application.
Yeah,
anymore.
I know. It's crazy. You can't deal with the IRS electronically. You can file things electronically, but you can't like call them up for something. You have to fax them things. You can't send an email to a particular agent to send them information that they need for a client. They're like, no, you got to fax me. I'm like, well, I don't have a fax. So I got to go down the hall to like a colleague of mine and fax it from there. It's just crazy. Yeah, and that's the way they operate.
Hey, just get a virtual one. That's what we have.
Yeah, well, yeah, I could do that, but but even with a virtual one, like to pay the fees, most of the companies I say I don't have a fax, they give me an email. Like it's not.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? And that changes slowly. That'll all be gone eventually. It's just stupid because of our use of data.
Yeah.
People want the data. You want the data to come in and go into the system and be used, in some cases, automatically, right?
It has to go into the system. And now with artificial intelligence, the things that we can do with data is unbelievable.
Oh, yeah. You can set up these agents, right, that can take the data in and do 27 things that it would take another guy 2 months to do. The speed at which things move is crazy.
In my previous history, we had somebody who was a data entry person doing data entry, with somebody collecting the invoices. We had an engineering team that was building the analytics. I mean, it was significant.
Yeah, the data entry job will be gone within the next several years. Maybe it's gone now almost.
I just analyzed a $7.5 million freight spend in like 2 days all by myself.
Yeah. How long would it have taken you before?
I mean, it would have taken us probably weeks to put that together.
Yeah, see, it's crazy.
And a whole team of people.
I know. That's what's going to happen. People have said, like, there's going to be I don't know what's going to happen in terms of jobs and industry, but to run your business and to run your industry is going to take like a tenth of the people that it took before. So where do all these people go? Mm-hmm. How do they make a living? What do they, if you're just a lower level data entry person and you don't really know technology and running, you're not the boss, whatever. It's like I always give the example of the phone. Remember the phone operators when they have the little headset and they pull the thing out and they plug it in, and then they created auto switching.
That's right.
Whole industry. Never saw it again. It's in the movies, right?
Yes.
Our kids don't know what that is. It's kind of the same thing when it comes to data entry. They will be like, data entry? What do you mean? The data is just in the system. Like that's the way it works. So do you see, I guess, your business being more and more and more technology driven, both on the dealing with the customers and helping the customers, putting in the technology that they need to operate, right?
Oh yeah, I'm going to automate everything.
Maybe you're getting your calendaring from one software and you're invoicing from another. Evenoo is a platform that we use as one of our sponsors to run our entire business. And there's other features like auto payments and integrations with QuickBooks. Visit evenoo.com, EVONUE.com to learn more. There's also a link in the show notes. And be sure to tell them that the Accidental Entrepreneur referred you. This podcast is brought to you by our affiliate sponsor, iEmployee. iEmployee is a virtual assistant service that hires almost anyone for any role in your company right out of the Philippines. Most roles range from $7 to $9 an hour for highly skilled and experienced VAs. And whether you need an executive assistant, social media manager, video editor, customer service, sales, you name it, they have it. We use iEmployee for our VA services, from editing and promoting the podcast to all the PR and promotion of our law firm. iEmployee acts as a virtual field supervisor on the back end with live video monitoring and reports on a daily basis with screenshots of your VA's workday, and along with complete HR and payroll duties. No more paying for overpriced and underqualified workers. There's a link in the show notes to get a 1-week free trial, and I encourage you to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Everything from quote to invoice, I think
Right.
we can automate.
Right. Yeah, because on their level, they can get all the data and the analytics they need, and you can get, company-wide analytics over all of your clients, and be able to manage what they're doing and what the trends are and things that you couldn't do before. You could do it, but you need a team of people to do it.
That's right. I mean, like at this stage in the game, like we don't need somebody building shipments into the system and entering those loads. We don't need anybody who's, sending outbound emails to track and trace shipments anymore. Like all that stuff's getting automated. So we're taking the lowest hanging fruit, the stuff that nobody loves to do on a regular basis forever.
Right.
Right. And automating that. And, even the quoting process in itself is logic behind it that, frankly, it's all over. Whether if you quote something, I quote something, John quotes something, it's all different sometimes.
Why?
Right? That logic, huh?
Why?
Because it's just experience. It's a level of fear. We're like in a transactional way, we're looking at the stock market, right?
Okay.
This is going up. This is trending up. Right now it says it's this amount of dollars. This costs this much, but there's a good chance it's going to go up more.
Okay.
Your
And
logic.
you take on that risk, not the customer?
We take that risk when we're quoting a customer. We're telling the customer what we're going to pay to move a truck in a transactional shipment.
And that's a guaranteed rate. Like you got to eat it if it ends up costing more.
Yeah, we're doing it. If we tell you we're going to move it for that rate, we're going to honor that quote.
Got it.
On the transactional side, so that's a lot of times just looking at different data and making a decision. So there's logic behind that, but a lot of it comes into fear. Sometimes people are scared because they don't want to lose money if the market changes.
Right. So some are more conservative and some are more aggressive trying to get these jobs, and they could screw themselves if they're not careful.
Yeah, but then on the contractual stuff, like the bigger stuff, like we're doing that $7 million, like we're going out to market, we're getting contracts in place, we're getting carriers that are going to take that on a regular basis. Your price doesn't change for a year. But all of that logic to quote that stuff and the process of collecting the data and putting it into a file and the process of taking it to market, that can all be automated.
Yeah,
you know?
And happen in seconds or minutes or hours when it could take days, weeks, whatever, months.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like 3 days on a full $7.5 million freight spend.
Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just at the early stages of AI. Like it's not even good yet.
That's correct. Yeah, we we started to work with some agents. We got a whole sandbox running in environment. From the tech guys. Sandbox is just a copy of our production.
Yeah, it's a what did my son call it? It's basically the unpublished environment. Like they're able to run it side by side because if they publish it and it's wrong, it could fuck up your whole system. Yeah, they know that. Yeah.
Yeah,
so they have to test it. Testing environment. Yeah.
Yeah, a testing environment. That's it. And I learned that the hard way too. I built this AI agent that would go in and track our freight and it'd update the system. And I was like, everybody on the team was like, "Man, this is the coolest thing we've ever
let's
seen."
do it.
Right. It's talking to everybody. People are communicating with it. Like it is working so good. And then all of a sudden, we walked in one morning. It was like, "Where did this shipment go?" It was gone.
Just gone from the system.
It just deleted it out of the system. Like thankfully we back all that stuff up, and we're like, "Hey, it looks like it deleted a couple locations on accident. Clicked the wrong button." So we're like, "All right, let's scale this back a little bit." And now we have this sandbox environment where it's like the wild west in there, man. We got agents doing different processes. They're talking, they're working together on some things. And all of a sudden they're conflicting things happening with two different agents, and so it's a wild time right now.
Yeah, no. I mean, you have to do that. What happened with that whole thing with what was it, CrowdStrike, where they launched something and it wasn't properly tested and it shut down all the airlines? Like my daughter was on her way to New Orleans for her birthday with my wife. Yeah, they ended up staying at our house and they couldn't get their luggage for 4 days. It was nuts.
That was what, I think maybe like 3 years ago or
something?
In
the summertime. It was like July of 2 years ago, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that can happen, right? You have a world. How many clients do you have moving things at any given time?
We have actually a pretty small customer base. We only have about 42, 44 clients that are shipping at any given.
Okay, but if you launch something, and all these customers, they may not all be on the same system yet, but let's say they're all doing something. You deploy something, you could shut down 42 companies that are doing business. I mean, it's
turn off, $1.5 million in business in a second.
Yeah, in a second. My son works for this company called Ariat. They do cowboy boots and work boots and all kinds of stuff. They're one of the biggest companies in the world. They go down for like an hour. They lose a lot of business.
Yeah.
A ton of business. There's money to be made. So, so you need a testing environment. You got to be really, really careful about that stuff. It's crazy, and that'll probably always be the case because you just can't take that risk that somebody's going to use things the way you think they're going to use things. There was this. I always tell people about this. I forget the name of it. It was like a fictional podcast. It was a story, but there was this thing in this story that they were calling about the Great Deletion. What happened was there was so much data in the cloud in these data centers that people had data like they didn't need. So they built these agents like we're doing now, right? That would go through your data and would delete your data because it's too old or it didn't make sense, whatever.
Hasn't been accessed in years.
But what happened was the AI agents started drawing other conclusions. Like, so as some of your data was deleted, it would then say, oh, well, we don't need this because we deleted this. And everything got deleted and everyone had to go back analog. Yeah. Like it all disappeared. So, so it's possible that the robots could take over and take all our shit away from us,
100%. We have to be very, very thorough on guardrails. So we treat them like employees now, where it's like, we set up a new employee. We're not going to give a brand new employee access to everything.
Right.
We're going to give them access to this button and this button. That's it.
Yeah, let's
If
see
they
how they're
need
doing.
another button, we'll give them the third button if we got
Yeah.
a use case for it.
Right, but always back up so you can go back a few days if you needed to, because it got fucked up, right?
Yeah.
Then you only have 2 or 3 days to make up and fix, not a
That's the
lifetime
beauty.
worth of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, so we have copies of the entire environment, right? So if we need to, we can just go back and we can reinstall whatever was taken out and, kind of like a time machine on an Apple computer, that sort of thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Same type of thing, yeah. Okay, so I got 2 questions for you. One is, like, where do you see the business going of logistics? Because obviously we're not going to stop buying things overseas. Like, there's a global economy. It's not coming. It's here, right? And then also about your company, like, where are you taking your company? What's your goal? You said you might triple this year. I have no idea how, but you could tell me that. So can you answer? Let's start with the global industry first.
I think, I started this business at the worst possible time to start. You could possibly think about starting a freight brokerage, and I think today is a great time because, we're seeing all of this volatility in the market today. You have war going on. It's the fuel cost. We saw the largest diesel fuel increase happen just here in March.
Yeah.
And so that has a major impact on shippers, companies that are shipping freight. If you would have, when I was calling somebody, if we were calling on somebody 2 months ago, everything was great. Didn't matter what company you used, which broker you used, which trucking company you used. The truckers did great, and the brokers were able to cover the loads. They didn't need to spend a lot of resources to get you the equipment because there was an abundance of equipment. That's not the case anymore.
You mean like getting trucks and
Correct.
trailers, and they're not as readily available as they used to be?
That's correct.
So the system volume's gone up, but the trucks don't just magically appear.
Well, the cost of trucks have gone up significantly, but also a significant amount of drivers have left the market due to everything that was going on with all the immigration stuff.
Yeah, because they're afraid, right?
Yeah, I mean,
We'll go buy ice and dragged out of their truck, and they don't know what the hell, right?
That, or like they took 20,000 drivers out of the market in California for bad CDLs. Like that stuff's happening too. So now we're seeing all this driver capacity leave the market. So it's kind of like the perfect storm. And
that leads me to believe that it's not a good time to get into the business because it's harder to get these jobs done and find the people, right? Or no? Am I wrong?
If you want to get in the business now and you need a truck, there's more people that need that truck than ever before.
Right? I see. So if you want to become a trucker, where you buy a truck, you get a CDL, like the field's open because they need tons of trucks.
Right. Or if you want to be a broker, volatility creates opportunity. Right. So when a shipper's freight prices just went up 40%, they're looking for somebody to help them.
Yeah.
Sure. And that's what we do. And so we've gotten more opportunities in the last 60 days or 90 days than we've got all last year.
You have a database of like drivers and truckers. I mean, how do you get to all these people?
Thousands and thousands of them.
But they must change all the time, right? So I guess an agent would help with that, right? Always checking credentials, see if the guys are still operating, their license is active. Because you hear these stories about crashes, and the guy like had his license suspended a month ago or something.
Yeah, that's a real thing. So we have to make sure all that stuff's up to date in real time. So our system does that.
Do you see like autonomous driving, like affecting the business? Because I think like trucks, like whenever I'm driving cross country, I drove my son to Texas and moved there. Sure. Trucks are like the worst thing when you're a consumer driver person, right? They're huge. Some of these states have 2 or they don't allow them in New Jersey, 2 or 3 trailers, triple trailers, double trailers. Those suckers are big, and you jackknife and you're done, right? So you get a blowout or something. So do you see like that helping? I always found that if you could solve the problem of all these trucks on the road and getting things from one way to another, you would forget about it. You couldn't even count your money. So do you think you see that happening or affecting the business?
Yeah, I think autonomous. The challenge with autonomous trucking is that when you need to move a 45,000 pound load, now you add so much weight in batteries, your capacity for your load.
Oh yeah, right.
So it reduces your capacity.
Yeah, trucks will be really heavy.
Correct. And so now when you're talking about commodities where it's like margins are fairly slim, they're trying to pack every single piece of product they can on that truck to move that load. So I think it doesn't apply to everything, but I think it definitely plays a role in this. I think there's a lot of commodities that it does make sense for, and I think there's a lot of lanes that make sense for. If you look at like Chicago to Indianapolis, like that happens all the time. That's a lane that's frequent. You could build a highway that was just for autonomous trucks that went from Chicago to Indianapolis, and these guys would, you'd have a driver that took the truck from the warehouse where it loaded to a lot on the side of the freeway or the truckway, and then it would go on there and it would drive autonomously all the way to another lot, and then another driver would come and take it to final delivery.
Right.
I think that's a real thing on some of those lanes that are super high volume. Those commodities make sense. So
Yeah,
I think
that's
that plays in.
yeah, interesting.
Hmm.
Okay, so what about your business? Like, what's the plans there? Because you said you might triple this year. How? I mean, the jobs can't like they keep getting bigger. Like, how's it going to triple this year?
Yeah, so we shifted from kind of like that. We shifted into the middle market, right? That $2 million to $50 million freight spend,
Yeah,
and so we
no more
started
small stuff.
not no more small
Or
stuff, but
very
it's
little. Yeah,
makes sense for
like you're not
us.
looking for those small jobs anymore.
Yeah, like um, we're not trying to compete for one shipment for $50.
Yeah,
No, it doesn't make
it's
sense
not
for us.
worth your time. Your costs are too high.
Yeah, and so all the relations that we've built over these years are we're building into companies that have $50 million in freight spend, and so as long as we deliver exceptionally well for them, like they continue to add more to our plate, and they want to delegate more to us, and so those opportunities have shifted up. The case studies have gotten a lot better. So we're bringing in larger accounts, and those accounts that we've brought in are also maturing. So it's a
They're growing.
combination of those
Right.
things that kind of compounds and creates that kind of exponential growth.
And I guess the technology and the analytics or stuff are more valuable to the bigger organizations than they are to the smaller ones. They're the ones that want that kind of service, right?
Yeah, that's it. you know the really really large ones, they have it, they have the analytics, right? So they'll still work with us as a broker, but like they know what they're doing and they're dictating
They
how
don't
they
need you
want
to
to run
come
the
in and
program.
rebuild their systems.
They want the capacity that you have, but they want to run the program and dictate how it's ran. And that middle market's the shift where it's the companies that, hey, I've been going to 5 different companies for the last 20 years that I've been doing business, and now things are changing and we don't know how to mitigate the increases that we're seeing, you know but then they don't want to move into like an agreement where it's like, hey, we can hire somebody to manage this and do it way more effectively, way more efficiently, do it cheaper than we're already spending it.
Right.
We don't want to put all our eggs in one basket. But that's where you get the leverage. That's how you get real cost savings, when you take the whole thing and then you take it properly to market and then you contractually bind that.
As
That's
opposed to piecemealing everything.
that's how you get the economies of scale. It's not by just splitting it up and sending it to 27 different people and getting them to compete with each other.
Right.
That creates a false sense of supply and demand.
Yeah, you think it's efficient, but that doesn't really work.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. Then that's the middle market. You're talking 2 to 50 million. They don't have necessarily their
Two
own
to fifty
systems.
million dollars in freight spend. We usually look at freight spend as like 10% of overall revenue, right?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Makes sense.
Mhm.
I was talking to somebody, like somebody said to me, with gas prices and everything, he says, "Oh, I'm gonna pay another buck, 90 cents." I said, "But you don't understand. If a trucker or a company has a dollar increase on from $3 to $4, that's a 30% increase in their gas costs.
That's right.
That's huge if you have, like you said, that kind of spend. And trucks aren't exactly getting good gas mileage, so you know what I mean. So that's huge, and I don't think people realize the impact of this stuff and how it affects ultimately the products that we pay for. It all funnels down at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, I mean, from what we've seen, you're looking at 20 to 40% increase somewhere in that range, depending on the freight profile.
Yeah, that's easy when you're paying $2.90 a gallon and now it's $4.25. That's big increase.
That's right, and that happened in a day.
Yeah, very quickly, and you're stuck in contracts, right? Like you can't. It's not like you can renegotiate things. Can you?
If you got good customers, typically they'll work with you on that. Like acts of war are not something that we can control, or
Yeah, those
national
like force
disasters
majeure
are not
things.
things that we can control. Those things suck
Yeah.
up capacity. So it's about having a really great relationship with our clients and a partnership and understanding that things are changing and mitigating those things. It's not about dropping the hammer. That doesn't. In that case, like you put a company out of business, what are you going to do? You're going to get another one do the same thing again?
Yeah, no, absolutely right. Exactly. They're not always there. You said the industry's tough because there's not enough trucks and things like that. So you got to take care of them while they're taking care of you, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, we play that song and dance all the time. We fuel went up. There's a lot of customers that we said, hey, listen, we're going to try to hold on all the rates that we've had. And we're not contractually obligated either. So we could go and say we're going to raise the rates.
Right.
But
the relationships.
Know that has an impact on them.
Yeah.
If they got a contract to their customer and the price just went up 20%, what are they going to do? They're going to eat the cost of that.
They're going to end up eating a lot of it, yeah.
We're trying to. So we try to hold that as long as we can. And some of them, over the last 90 days, we've gotten compressed. Our margins have gotten compressed. We didn't say, hey, this is a natural disaster, we're raising all of our rates, because a
Right,
lot
like
of people
the
do that.
pandemic, that's just what happened. People raise rates without even price increases. They're like, well, our prices are going to increase, so we're going to increase, and it was a snowballing effect.
Yeah, you're like, hey, it's COVID, go raise all of your prices.
Right,
Everybody understands,
right. And there
and
were some
it
people that
really
didn't
is,
have increased costs.
you know.
Yeah,
But we're not trying to do that to our clients, because that creates an impact for them. So there's a lot that we've tried to hold strong on. We've been able to, and it compressed our margins a little bit, but like that tells our customer that we care, we give a shit. It's not just
yeah,
about the bottom dollar. It's about supporting them and making sure that they don't have to deal with those challenges. And then we have those conversations if they come up.
right. Yeah,
They're having them with anybody else that they've used.
that's for sure.
So if I come and say I need 5%, and the last guy said he needed 40 or 20, you know, hopefully they can see that, we're trying to drive some real value to them, and it's not just about the bottom dollar.
Right. It's like you said, there's a difference between being a transactional company and having transactional relationships and having real relationships that you want to maintain long term and improve the
Yep.
viability of your company. You can't be long term successful having just transactional things, one offs, and looking for new jobs and guys every day.
Right. Or if you came to me, Mitch, every single day, and you're like, hey, I got this load, I want to, I got one shipment, or even if it's, you got 20 shipments a day,
Right.
but everything's a bid board, and it's always the cheapest rate, and there's no relationship. All that matters is the cost.
Right.
When the market changes, everybody's like, well,
Yeah.
I got 27 people knocking on my door that want this truck, that are willing to pay for it.
You
You've
pay higher
always,
money. Right.
fought me for $10. Like, I'm gonna go give the capacity to this person. So those
Yeah.
relationships mean so much.
Yeah, so much. So you've given some really good advice today, one of which like hiring good people for your company, not low paid people. Like it's not, it's penny wise and pound foolish. What other advice do you have for guys getting started, maybe in any kind of business or in this industry specifically?
Um, that's a great question, Mitch. I think the number one thing that I learned in starting my first business into starting this business is that relationships matter more than you would ever think, and how we treat other people
Yeah.
is going to have a big impact in the end result that we get. The first company I started was all about money. Like, it was like I ran everything by the numbers. And
Yeah.
after that happened, and after I sold it, and I got to a
That was the
dark place.
franchise one.
Yeah, and I lost my identity a little bit because I was so tied to that business. And then I was like, man, I don't have shit. I don't have a company anymore. I'm not a business owner. Like,
Yeah.
I don't really have any relationships because it was all about business. And I went back to all the people that I made bad decisions about, and I said, hey, I messed up. Like, I'm sorry, and I had to make amends with them. So I apologized to a ton of people. And now in this business, what I've learned is like really getting to understand people and what makes them click. Like, this business is not just about dollars and cents. It's a vehicle for us to do the things that we want to do and help other people grow, as well as ourselves. So really understanding those people and what makes them tick and where they want to go, and being a part of that. I got a guy that wants to start a football club for his community. Like, I'm gonna help him. I'll help him build the website, put that all together, roll that stuff out. Like, that means more to people than anything when we can
Yeah.
get involved in their personal life. So I think number one is the relationships, whether it's getting started, whether it's employees, finding a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
We have to go out and find those relationships.
Yeah.
And then the second part is just fucking do it, man. Like,
Yeah.
you got to jump all in 2 feet.
Right. Don't say, oh, yeah, I'll get around to
Keep
it.
thinking
Whatever. I haven't
taller.
done that yet. Yeah, if you want to be successful,
Yeah.
that's what you got to do. All right. Great advice. Great story.
Thanks.
Best of luck. Let's keep in touch, because this industry will be changing constantly as we, figure ways to maybe someday they'll build batteries that are lighter, and then the trucks can put the batteries in them. Who the hell knows what's going to happen with that?
Oh, well, aliens come down from outer space and give us the technology.
Yeah, that would help. Right. Or
Power it
drones. You'll just
forward.
have big, giant drones.
That's
They
it.
can pick these things up and then move them across the country, and you won't have to worry about trucking.
Yeah, I'm sure Elon will have it figured out here in the next year or two.
Yeah, but it'll still be logistics. You'll need to logistically control all the drones. Your system literally will know where every drone is at any given time. So yeah,
Pivot when we need to.
yeah, exactly. Well, some of those businesses, they just become their own logistics businesses, right? The biggest part of the business is moving whatever the product is from one, end of the country to the other. So yeah,
Accidentally, right? You find the problem and then go solve it. Some of those things come about and you never even thought that it would be possible.
yeah, absolutely. All right, I can't thank you enough
Thanks for
on
having me.
a Friday morning. It's almost lunch here, but it's earlier there. And thanks again. So if people want to connect with you, maybe they're a trucker, maybe they're not, maybe they want to learn what you're doing, maybe they want advice, what's the best way to, is LinkedIn the best way to connect with you, or?
You can just go to randyvlasic.com.
Okay. We'll put a link in the show notes.
Like pickle. I'm not related. I actually don't like Vlasic pickles.
That's good.
But yeah, randyvlasic.com. If you want to talk logistics, Lumi Logistics is my company. Life is what we make it is the acronym of Lumi. That's all there at randyvlasic.com. All my social stuff. If you want to follow the journey on what I'm building, that's all there.
All right. Well, Randy, I can't thank you enough. For those of you tuning in, thanks for joining us for another great episode of the podcast. As always, I always say that we share our ideas to help you get a better hold or a better grasp of your business. So hopefully that happened today with Randy's advice. And tune in next time for God knows what we're talking about next week, but we'll come up with some other topics. We got some other guests coming up. And please subscribe to the show. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on the other directories. We're on LinkedIn. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. And also like us and share us on the audio versions as well. So, Randy, thanks again for joining me. And, for coming on the show. I appreciate it. All your time and your thoughts and your advice.
Appreciate you having me.
In addition to being a podcast host, I'm also a small business attorney, mostly providing legal services in New York and New Jersey. With over 3 decades of experience, we can handle most transactional issues. So if you're watching the show and you encounter some sort of legal issue, reach out to us and visit our website, mindhackerlaw.com. Thanks for tuning into the show and for continuing to support us.